Hey guys, good evening. And this is me, Mukesh Morwal, and we'll be talking about how you could manage your hormonal health holistically. And how we're gonna do it is I will be presenting this screen before you, and I hope you guys are able to see it, right? Okay. So let's move further and let's start the session, right? Okay. So what is your definition? What is our definition of health and happiness? Since the time that human beings have evolved, we have created different definitions, and as per the definitions, things change. When I say things change, it simply means that we have been able to evaluate things and then work as per our structure. So, happiness, as to what was known as satiety or contentment, that religion came along with, or the nomadic sense that human beings had, it came along with, is completely different than what it is today. So today, happiness could be how many followers you have, or maybe how much of attention, how much of acknowledgement anyone gets, maybe on social media, or for a person who's meeting his close relative, someone whom he loves, whom he or she loves after a long time. So happiness has been pretty subjective, right from the time that human beings have evolved. So happiness and health is a completely different parameter, and that's where the gist of today's session starts. Now, the difference between the species, that the animals, plants, and everything, and our growth, it started with the way we started using our brains during interpretations and interactions. So when we did go for hunting, we were able to create tools. It's not the same way with animals. They've been still the same primitive, they've still been using the same primitive tools, like they've got nails and they've got teeth to attack. And they could have just changed the way that they attack, or maybe they could have become more swifter, but that doesn't go and change anything. However, we've been able to change the tools that we used for hunting. We've been able to change the way that we hunted, and of course, we've changed the way that we treat food. It's no more the same that we had. So the interpretations of food health has changed, and the way that we have interacted with everything around us, it also has changed, and so has changed the whole chemistry of adding inputs or pitching the inputs into your brain. Now, humans have been an instrumental mixture. When I say instrumental mixture, it means it's almost like objective subjective. So for a few people it is very objective, for a few people it is subjective, and it's an instrumental mixture of health, happiness, and social interaction. Now, the last part that I have put in over there, social interaction, that means a lot. So in today's world, it is necessary that a person needs to have some kind of social interaction. If that's not possible, then there are chances that this person could have a lot of issues, and that's where we start with the inputs going to your brain. Now, we have evolved dynamically by changing the way we have digested, cooked, expressed, slept, yes, perceived and interacted with the environment around us. So in short, it's how we communicated internally and externally that we created a lot of changes around us. And when I say evolved dynamically, we are a continuous copy of failures. So it's not that one fine day we decided that we need to be sleeping on the left side or maybe on the right side, or we needed to express with our eyes open, maybe with our mouth open, and then utter a word we could call, as a group we could call it a language, and we created so many languages. So it's the way we expressed, it's the way we perceived, and we thought that the sound that comes out from the mouth needs to be intoned in a different way. So we have certainly changed in a lot better senses than what it was before, right? So today we have evolved because it's all because of the technology and automation. So every single day you find an app which is just a good copy of the previous app that would have failed. So we have got dozens of phone, but every single new phone or every single new model that comes in might have a lot of privacy features, or maybe something that is more pertaining or more sensitive to a group of people, including the operating system or the cameras or the way that we've been using it, right? So the technology and automation that we have all around us is just one piece of communication. Communication is a bigger umbrella. And when we talk about communication, it's necessary over here to understand that without communication, this whole evolution process would have been incomplete. The barter trends that we all know, the nomads that we were before, and this whole conjunction of evolution, where human beings were living very close to animals, and we were living in specific type of temperatures, and then from that place we've been able to evolve, change the way that we sleep. We sleep with our spines straight. None of the animals, they sleep with their spines connected to the ground, right? So that's certainly something of a huge difference. uh, Internal communication, the structure is dependent on chemical messengers. That's what we call the hormones, right? So very necessary. It's necessary for us to understand that we were able to evolve because we were able to connect within the body through something that we call the brain. So the brain, which is one of the most dynamic kind of a mechanism inside of our body, it is able to communicate with each of the organs that we have. So it's able to communicate with the heart, and it's able to change your heartbeat. It's able to change the way that the the urinary tract functions, or the frequency of your times of urination, or maybe the time that you clear up your bowels. Now all of this, it started happening because the brain was able to communicate properly with few specific group of chemicals that we call the hormones. So the chemical messengers inside the body are called the hormones, right? Now our body communicates effectively only when the organs are able to digest. Maybe your stomach breaks the food with acids and then digests it. It will digest it. The digestion process itself is too long, right? And if it is able to circulate the blood, if we are able to balance our rest cycles, if we are able to absorb the nutrition from the food, stabilize our temperature, what we call the homeostasis, and most importantly, store information. Storing information is very important here on this side, because it's necessary. Now our immune also works in the same way. So you've been infected, or maybe 50 years back people were infected by specific types of bacteria, maybe a plague, or malaria, right, or tuberculosis, and very slowly the body started creating resistances. Okay, so we had a lot of failures inside, and the cells that we had inside, the immune cells, it was able to store a lot of information related to malaria, and very slowly we were able to evolve and fight malaria or any other infection, because we were able to store information, we were able to use this, we were able to procure it, we were able to retain that information and use it subjectively. Next time that you had a mosquito bite, the body will start coming and talking inside, saying, fine, this is malaria, or maybe this could be dengue, or this could be dengue, and it would fight that infection or the invasion accordingly. So it's very subjective. So it's only because we were able to store information of whatever happened previously were we able to fight that specific type of resistance, right? Okay. The basic and most important faculties of the mind, imagination and decision making, are controlled by hormones. This is very important. This is that one part that puts everything apart. It's certainly not something that you will get to learn anywhere else. The reason is because we are controlled, we are promoted, we are sponsored by people who would certainly not want us to know that there are a lot of decision making. There's a lot of decision making that needs to be done, and if you start thinking about decision making, you would not even install an app, right? Because you must have known that there are so many privacy issues with so many apps today. They are able to smuggle the information or just pick your information, everything related to you, and pass it to someone else where it could not be conducive for you. So imagination and decision making, they're controlled by the hormones, and they are the most important faculties of our mind. And this whole process that I spoke about right now, just a few minutes ago, I spoke about a few processes, right? So the evolution process, the evolution process, or the technical formalities, whatever happened since the last 200 or 300 years, that we were able to trade, we were able to develop ourselves. It happened because we were able to imagine growth, we were able to imagine, create, and we were able to decide what was supposed to be done at the right point of time, or we were able to decide that fine, I'm able to store this information that this specific process will only cause failures. Let's stop it right there. So imagination and decision making is controlled by your hormones. If any external factor is able to control or reduce our important faculties, which is imagination, decision making, and creativity, then a complete culture can be put into dependence. Right? What does it mean? It simply means that if I am able to convince you somehow that eating breakfast early in the morning, and that could have a lot of processed food, would be very healthy for you, and that's how we get a complete nation full of diabetes, full of diabetics. So it was cultivated for a lot of years that there is a specific practice that could be conducive for our health, whereas it was not, because it was sponsored by specific factors, right? The same thing goes for smoking for a long time, unless and until this case was not fought in the court. Tobacco companies were never reluctant, they were not even reluctant to put the warning on the box of cigarettes that it could be injurious to the health, and it was clearly believed that tobacco could be great for the brain unless and until people did not die of cancer. So you can certainly change your point of view, your perception. Everything can be changed just by people putting you up into a perception that things are right. However, and you could get into a deep level of dependence. Okay. Now we will be taking a look at the endocrine glands. Endo is the word for internal, and exo is for external. It's like my ex-girlfriend, which means out of my life, my ex-colleague, my ex-office people, which means I'm not over there. So X is always out, I'm out of it, and endo is inside. So end is something else, but endo is internal. So we're going to talk about the endocrine glands. Glands are basically a group of knots, or you can say it's a group of cells, tissues that secrete, excrete those hormones that we are going to talk about. Different organs in the body, as you see in the picture, will secrete different types of hormones, and there is a master gland which is the third eye. All right, or you call it the third eye, or it is called the pituitary gland, and that's the master gland. So why we call it the master gland is because it controls everything. And you have primary glands. When I say primary glands, they are important because they control your body temperature, the bowel movement, the metabolism, how much of energy needs to be taken from the food. So if there is a person who's been fasting for a long time, the body will start taking energy, and it will also store energy. It will also send inputs to the other parts of the body that you should not be functioning properly because there is no need for you. And that's why too many people don't understand that when they get into some kind of eating or having diets which are actually known as fads, which do not give them enough amount of nutrition, what can happen is your brain can start sending signals that we need to take out all of the nutrition that we have in store, which has been going to the hairs, the nails, the bones, the joints, because this body is not going to be locomotive for a long time. It's going to be obese. So let's go ahead and start storing energy, and we'll start taking energy from all of the energy that could be going to your hairs, your nails, your bones, or maybe even your reproductive glands. So many people have seen this, that when they get obese, they also lose any craving or any desire to have sex, right? So that could just happen because it's your brain signal. So your master gland, which is your pituitary gland, it controls your thyroid and other lower glands, the secondary glands. And inflammation occurs when the loop or this circle of inflammation, so it's always from top to bottom. So because gravity works on us, that's why it's always top to bottom. And that is why it's been seen that when people start changing the position, the way that they sleep, if you've seen people who've been sleeping for a long time, sitting on a chair, they have problems. They have severe mental issues, or it could be also be the reverse, because the brain has started sending signals in a different way. So inflammation occurs. What is inflammation? Inflammation is the internal conflict. So it also means that the body is trying to fight with itself. So it occurs when the loop or the circle of inflammation is not complete. It's not round. So it's not just top to bottom and bottom to top. It's just top to bottom, maybe just bottom to top. So that's where this loop does not complete. So when I say top to bottom and bottom to top, it simply means storage of information. So your brain says to your liver that okay, fine, I need to go and convert these hormones which are coming from the thyroid gland. T4 is coming to you. Just go ahead and pull up your processes and then convert it into T3, or maybe convert the energy, N-acetylcysteine, glutathione, whatever. So all of a sudden liver does not respond, which means your liver is covered with a layer of fat. It is also called fatty liver. So it's covered with a lot of bad fat, and hence this whole function of top to bottom communication that the liver needs to convert a lot of hormones, it falls off, right? So and again, it is not even able to send a signal to your brain that something is going wrong. And then what could happen is that you could have severe issues. The brain is not able to comprehend that there's a problem with your liver, and then there is an inflammation. You go to the doctor and say, okay, fine, I got pain over here. He does your sonography, he does your blood test, and he comes to know that you've got issues, severe issues with your liver, or maybe your pancreas or somewhere else. So this whole loop, it just ends. It stops somewhere in between, and that's where inflammation starts. It also controls your thyroid and your other glands, your pituitary gland, which is the master gland. We should understand that if thyroid, adrenals, adrenals are your glands that control cortisol, adrenaline, epinephrine. They're controlled by a pituitary, and if the pituitary can be controlled by external factors, just like I said, if there is someone who can control your pituitary, then that specific stimuli or that trigger can also control your thyroid, can also control your adrenals. So it simply means that what do you need to do. It's very, very simple. What would you have to do if you have to control your thyroid, if you have to control your pancreas or your adrenals? What would you have to do? You'll have to stop that stimuli that's coming from outside. So very, very simple. You'll have to first manage your total electronic usage. Why did I say electronic usage? It's very simple. It's all because of that input that's coming in from electronic usage, right? So people who have weak glands, they take statins, they take steroids, and they are known to have very high dependence on electronic tools, apps, websites, mobile phones, newspapers, web series. So you must have seen people who take a lot of statins for diabetes, for thyroid, for adrenals, and for the reproductive issues, and you must have seen that they're completely dependent on 2 or 3 different things. One is the electronic media that they're completely dependent. They're multitaskers. Multitaskers always have a lot of issues. Multitasking also kills your brain. Yeah, it's contrary to whatever is being taught to you. As I said that for years, if you've been taught wrong things, you start believing that it's right. However, people who multitask also create a lot of issues with the conjunction that happens when the body starts flushing out a lot of cholesterol. So cholesterol is also of a few different types. You've got high density lipoprotein, and you've got low density lipoprotein, and very low density lipoprotein, and it gets flushed out by your body. So every time that you're doing multitasking, that whole process of flushing it out properly, it stops. And most of the times that I have seen with the people that I treat, I have seen that multitaskers normally have heart attacks much quicker than it should normally happen. Every 7th person in the world who's got a heart attack, or maybe every 6th person in the world who has a heart attack is an Indian, right? So we've been over here, and the reason I'm saying that it's an Indian is because I am an Indian and I really know how people work. So it's the same people that I've been treating, and when we just tell them to stop these habits for a continuous amount of time, okay, and we've seen these things getting reversed completely. And you must have seen a lot of testimonials. People have been able to reverse their habit of taking steroids, thyroid medications, diabetes, metformin, completely gone of life. So it is certainly possible. You have to change your lifestyle, okay, and it's necessary. We understand that the number one killer of intelligence, creativity, as I just spoke about, your perception, your decision making, focus, good relationships, autoimmune disorders. What are autoimmune disorders? Hashimoto's. Okay, what is that number one killer? It is multitasking. It also creates multi-hormonal disorders. Get it right. Okay, now that you have the mantra that I'm giving you, get it very, very right. Okay, so very simply put, it is the lipid structure, because your hormones have a foundation. hormones have a foundation of lipids. What are lipids? Healthy fats, bad fats, good fats. So if you've got good fats, you've got good hormones. If you've got bad fats, you've got a bad storage. I spoke about it. Bad flow. The loop that I was talking about, that I just spoke about, inflammation of various kinds, and of course you have long-term diseases. I hope that this is more pertaining to your habits. Whatever I had to give you an indication about, I've already spoken about it. These are the hormones that we were talking about, like, the melatonin that controls your sleep cycles, your pituitary that controls your growth hormone, the TRH, which is thyroid regulatory hormone, which controls the TSH, which is thyroid stimulating hormone. So yes, there are so many other things like the follicular stimulating hormone, your luteinizing hormone, uh, so many things. And you guys must be knowing that there is also something called PTH. There is calcitonin. Just in case you guys are not aware about it, then there is insulin like growth factor, and that's also very necessary. You must have just known about insulin. No one talks about glucagon and somatostatin. Now insulin is just spoken about, but because we have to sell you the medicines related to insulin. However, it is also glucagon. It is the other regulatory hormone, and they are both controlled by somatostatin. That's another hormone, and somatostatin is controlled by your nervous system. So I hope you guys are getting what I'm saying. Okay, so if you're going to regulate something, better start working on things that are going to regulate you, right? So what are those triggers? What are those stimuli? Start working on it, guys. This was all about it. I hope I was able to explain it in my way. Okay, I am no authority, which means I'm not the kind of geek that you were expecting. I do not have a designation before my name. It's something that I wanted to share with you because anything that helps people, and this has certainly helped. We've been able to reverse a lot of issues. We've been able to reverse a lot of disorders. The testimonials are right over there, all over on YouTube. Okay, all written. There are so many that I many a times cannot have a page. We have to go and put in 4 to 5 different pages just for the written and spoken testimonial, right? So it's not that I'm flying my own kite. It is because we have tried and tested it, and it's not all because of me. It's also because of the research that we do. It's because of a good team that I am in. So guys, please remember to go ahead and like, comment, and share, just in case it helps someone. And yes, also show a little bit of gratitude because there's a lot of effort that goes into making it. There is someone who pulls up all of those images, and we make it. It's the team that does it, right? So do remember that this is how we go and get things done, right? So thanks a lot, guys. I will see you guys very soon. And what else? Any questions, please come back and do let me know. Take care. Bye bye.